Right, so a student of mine asked me how she could improve this section, and in terms of design wise, and it's not too bad here, but there's a few things, small adjustments that you can do with very minimal technical experience that you can do to make it look a little bit better. So, for example, here, let me just adjust it here because there's something there. Okay, so for example, here, right, when you look at this page, your eyes, they are floating between his expression and this main text. So the attention is floating between one and the other. And what we want to do is want to make sure that people are more focused on the left side because there's the copy, and then the right side is just support. So when you have something that has so much contrast, saturation, and brightness at the same time here, with a line on the center from left to right, it's going to be obvious that the image is going to pop. Now, the thing is, this is not a bad thing, but in this specific case, it kind of is because this image doesn't share too much about what is important here. So this is just support for the emotional sense of frustration. Okay. Now, when we go to this way, it's still I made it a little bit bigger, right? It still is there, but the eyes are now much more focused on the left side. Okay. So as you can see, now the eyes are much more focused on the left side, and the main reason why is because, and I could make this a little bit smaller as well, so that let me just fix the gradient because the gradient is messing up. Okay, I could make it a little bit smaller to make it more obvious, and the main reason why this is this is a very small adjustment but makes a big difference is because of this glowing element. So when you use this glowing element, you can see that now your eyes, your attention is immediately more focused on this center area. And that's because of contrast, okay? So there's a lot of ways you can play around with contrast. You can do color contrast, you can do size contrast, you can do shape contrast. There's a lot of different contrasts. I can bring more about this if you guys want to. But if we didn't have that, the balance would not be there, okay? So now with this, it's much easier or much better because now the focus is where the highlight is. So for example, if we add the glowing effect here, the focus is on the recovery plan from top to bottom. If we add here, the focus is on the button and the bullet points, right? Of course, you still read this first, but your eyes tend to then guide to that other direction. So when we add this in the middle, it kind of adds an overflow from an overview of the entire scenario. Let me just fix this gradient. Okay. Now another thing that we did was we added these dots to create a little bit of texture and a little bit of depth. But the main reason why is also because she had these branding elements right there. So we also use that because these are branding elements. Okay. Another thing we did was we added a gradient. If you can see here, we added this gradient just so everything would just fit better. Again, this image is just there for supporting the emotion of negativity, of overwhelming frustration. It's not there to sell, so we don't want it to be too significant. Some other things that we did was we created this, gradient because with that gradient we can have a much smoother transition, and therefore everything just plays along better. So this is first, and then we go to the second level of attention. Another thing we did was we decreased the size of this with this section. These sections, they don't need to be super highlighted. They can be super small. The only thing you need to do is you have a big contrast with, in this case you have, which is with the red color. If we added like a black color, the contrast would not be there. Let me just go ahead and, because this is grouped, I don't want that. So if we add it like this, the contrast would not be there. It would be much subtle. So we kind of want to do the contrast with the red if this is a priority for us. Another thing I did was I changed these bullets because we had these three bullets on the left horizontally aligned, and these ones as well. So these two bullets, they are fighting for the attention. And because the button is not as big, and because they are fighting for attention, it's just complicated to absorb information. When you have something like this way, it's much easier to understand that this is the first thing you see, this is the second thing you see, this is the third thing you see, this is the fourth and the fifth thing you see, right? Or, depending on the personality, this is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, okay? And also you have this other one there. So, we want to make sure that the elements are disposed that way so that we know where people are going to be paying attention, okay? So much easier to absorb, much easier to understand what it is, and these are not clashing with each other as they work here, okay? We also align a few things and adjust a few details there, but I'm not going to mention that. Another thing I did was we changed the color from white to, gray, just so we have color contrast, so that this is definitely the first thing we want to see. This is definitely the first thing. So, there's a much bigger contrast. So now there's no priority. And as we get it to whiter and whiter and whiter, now they kind of are in the same place. The only contrast is size. So here is size and color, okay? So it's easier to focus there as well. Another thing we did was we added a little bit more details into the button. We added an arrow for continuity, start my 7-day reset, and then we have an arrow for continuity. We've added a gradient so that the button would pop a little bit more. We added a shadow on the back so that it also is more clickable, and that's pretty much about what we did. We added a border on the bottom, but that's totally, this is the before, and this is the after, so it just has more depth to it, so it's a little bit better. So that's pretty much about it. Like, very small changes. You don't need to be an amazing designer to do this kind of stuff, and it does improve significantly the experience, but also guides the conversions a lot better as well. So I wanted to bring this to you because I noticed I haven't been building as many tutorial content as I used to, so here's one. Let me know in the comments below what kind of questions do you have, and I'm gonna be bringing a lot more content, so follow for more, and talk to you soon.